morning, everyone. Good morning, friends. I think over the last 6 months, we have learned what it is to be agile. Literally overnight, right? Our family, our organizations were under stress. Our support systems vanished. Our routines were completely disrupted. And we had to step up and do whatever it takes to keep the show going. I think what we did not do over so many decades, we managed to achieve in the 6 months of the lockdown and the corona impacted timelines, right? I mean, even if I look at the family, the organization, everywhere there has been a challenge and we have stepped up to do whatever it takes. I'm very proud of my organization, Mother Dairy, right? I mean, if you look at it, we stepped in, we supported the people of Delhi in a big way. We set up around 75 temporary kiosks all over Delhi to support the affected societies. Whereas over the last 10 years, we would have done only 250, right? And this involves the entire jing bang of equipment, manpower to run the shows. We set up social distancing circles literally over a 2-day time period, right? We supplied to containment zones. We set up new distribution structures to reach the societies which were affected. So all this happened in my organization, and I look around and I see that this has become a new normal. You see factories which have started manufacturing sanitizers, face shields, like movie screen makers who are now manufacturing curtains and face shields. I believe we went from manufacturing nothing to 4.5 lakh PP equipment today. Major shifts happening. You look at the schools, your kids, teachers, they had to relearn ways of working and they have adapted in a big way. So what gets me thinking is, how do you drive this agility or this nimble way of working which you see during a crisis? How do we move from being crisis managers to a sustained agile way of working? So I'm privileged to have a great panel of industry stalwarts who have experienced these shifts throughout their careers. And I am looking forward to hearing their learnings and their inputs on how do you take an organization on the path to agility. So welcome everyone. I think I would start off with, I don't know, who should I throw the first question at? Maybe we should ask, how do you embark? What are the triggers which drive this quest for agility? How do organizations embark on the agile path? How do you create a shared vision? What are the drivers for this? So maybe Debashish, would you like to start off?
Sure. Thank you, Annie. Really, and thank you, Deepak, for inviting me here as well. Really a pleasure to speak to all of you here. And the topic is very, very close to our heart as well. I mean, Annie, you mentioned about the COVID and how we had to change ourselves to adapt to this kind of a situation. However, I will say that our journey, thankfully, our journey of the new agile way of working and all that, I will say, I mean, I have joined with 2 years, I'll say, along with Vas, our CEO, who took over about 2.5 years back. And then, the big thing was that we understood, we realized that the pharma industry is not so adept to the technologies. We are like age-old, industry and centuries-old, company. So we realized that the digital transformation and a journey towards that was imperative. And what we have started to do to make ourselves agile organization, we have adopted pretty much like a 3-pronged approach. We are calling it curious, inspired, and unbossed. So let me explain what the strategy there is. So obviously, as the name suggests, unbossed is the agile way of operating. Instead of going by the org model of boxes and squares and all, how you create network of people and you start to operate in an unbossed manner. But if you see that if you only rely on unbossed, we believe that sometimes you might run into a chaos. You don't know where you are headed, what you are trying to do. Therefore, all three should go hand in hand. Let me explain quickly what these all means for us. So curious, for example, you need to be curious around what's happening around you. You need to be curious and asking that question, what's going to happen? And you need to be curious to figure out and be knowledgeable to figure out, how, what else you need to do and how the situations are changing and all that stuff, right? So be a very curious mind there to figure out and to ask that question to yourself. The second is being inspired to take bold steps, right? Being inspired to have, really thinking about the vision, thinking about what's going to happen in next, 3 years from now, being inspired to work with each other and make things happen. I think those are the kind of, things that you have to do. And then comes the unboss, where how do you just bring people sort of together to make it happen? Because the normal traditional way, I call it the box and line structure, is clearly not going to work, as we have all highlighted that. I'd like to give a quick sort of example. I mean, when I joined the innovation role, one of the big things that we were thinking of is how do you create that ecosystem where we tap into the academics, we tap into the startup, we tap into the various different ecosystems to make it happen. And one of the thoughts that I had, okay, let's create like something like a corporate accelerator program. As we all know, pharma industry is very rigid, and Novartis being sort of one of them. We believe in like an alignment, and something like any procurement process goes through the 9 yard, as I would like to say. But one of the problems that we had there is that the 9 yards that you take to sign a multi-billion-dollar deal with companies like Microsoft's, you would like to apply the similar thing for a startup who has maybe started 6 months, 8 months down the road, and they obviously do not have 3 years financial statement, for example, that you asked, right? So simple things like that was a pain point. And what we said is that we will launch our own corporate accelerator program. We'll say that we will just have a slightly different way of working and all that stuff. Idea was great, but how do you do it? If you go by the normal norms, then you will never be able to do this. So we have started to create this unbossed manner. We started to create startups within ourselves, right? And I just shared the vision, reached out to the procurement. We found that one person who was aligned to that thought process and the vision and trying to make it happen. I went to the legal. We just started to reach out to our strategy people, to this and that, and we started to assemble a team. We got about 7 or 8 very passionate individuals. We got all of us together, and we started to work on what is it that we need to do. How do you change the procurement process? How do you do this? How do you do that? And within 8 months, we had launched our corporate accelerator program. We have hired a new person who also comes from an incubator, and now it is all set to go. Our sort of big day was that when Vas heard about all this, he said he will personally come and launch this for us. So that was a really a big sort of a boon for us. But that's how I'm just trying to highlight how does the organization shape themselves up. I just wanted to give that as an example. There are multifold of examples, but I know others have too. So I'll pause here and happy to sort of contribute in the conversation.
Thanks, Debashish. That's interesting. So even a small group can drive these initiatives. It doesn't need to be something which is a very structured kind of initiative or a very top-driven kind of initiative. Good.
Absolutely.
Rajiv, do you would like to step in?
Sure. So good morning, everyone, and thank you, Deepak and Hari, for having me as a part of the panel. See, I think let me answer. You've also asked 3 questions, and let me just give you objective answers for each of the 3. Before I answer why do we need to embark on a journey of agility, I think what is important to answer is, before we answer how, the why has to be answered.
Why?
And there are 2 reasons why how the why is getting answered. One is that, historically, we have always used past trends to extrapolate future trends. We always knew that past is never equal to future, but yet we always extrapolated future trends based on past trends. But today, the pace at which the consumer behavior is changing, future trends can no longer be extrapolated based on past trends, which means that we need to do something very different in the future to be sustainable and to be alive. That's one. Let me give an example of the hospitality industry to which I belong to. The industry is all about touch points. At every stage of your stay in a hotel, there are touch points. Today, with the social distancing norms, it's about minimal touch points. So you need to change the way in which you approach your whole business practices, processes have to again get redefined. That's one. The second point I want to highlight is technology. The speed at which technology is getting created and getting obsolete needs you to be agile. And the third point is regulatory. The regulatory framework around us is constantly changing and evolving at a pace which has not been seen before. And therefore, again, to be on the right side of the law and to be compliant, you need to be agile. So there are various reasons to be agile. Now, when you talk about agility, it means need for change. And when I think of change, there is one quote which I always recall. Allow me to recall that quote. No one is averse to change. No one is averse to change. Everyone is averse to being changed.
True.
Now, so if changes are happening around us and I'm not impacted, I'm saying, okay, let the change happen. But when I'm impacted, I'm saying, hello, wait, let me think about it. So in an organization, to be agile, the very basic belief has to be that I should be willing to be changed. And if the organization harbors that belief, then the organization progresses towards being agile. And now coming to the second part of your question, what triggers the transformation? I believe only two things trigger transformation. One is a disruption. So for example, COVID is a disruption. There were many companies which were moving at a cruise mode. COVID came, shook them up, and have forced them to be agile. So these kinds of disruptions can be a positive disruption if you embrace it. It can be a negative disruption if you can't cope up with it. But disruptions is a catalyst for you becoming agile. The second is our progressive companies, which have never waited for these disruptions. They've always had this inherent belief that you need to be agile. Otherwise, you will meet the same fate as what happened to Yellow Pages. It will not be long before you become Yellow Pages. Sorry to use that term, but it's a fact. Now coming to the last part of your question, shared vision. You know, when I think of shared vision, Annie, the one word that comes to my mind is Ubuntu. It's an African concept, Ubuntu. It was very well defined, and I'll just try to see how I can define it simply and short and brief. Ubuntu says that it's got its root in Africa. What it means is that a solitary person is a contradiction in terms. It says that I am the person I am because you are the person you are. Now, the better you become, the better I become. Together we are. Now, let me make this simply put, is that in an organization, if I am threatened, if one leader is threatened because of another leader in the organization, if one function is threatened because of another function in the organization, you cannot have a shared vision. So for an organization to have a shared vision, what is very important is that you need to have an alignment. The second point I will share is with a personal example is engagement. I don't believe that you can create shared vision through remote access. I believe you can drive shared vision only through a process of engagement. And I can recall an incident where I was entrusted with a very large responsibility. And when I went to a mentor and I asked him, how do I go about doing this? He said, Rajiv, all you need to focus is engagement. So we decided we will not have a town hall to announce that initiative. Instead, we decided to go to each and every critical stakeholder and talk about it, get their buy-in. And such was the impact of that advice which I received from my mentor is that the initiative got fulfilled. We exceeded expectation because there was a complete buy-in, because there was a shared vision. So one is obviously engagement. Second one, as I said, is imbibing the concept of Ubuntu. And lastly, to create a shared vision, what is very, very important is to create stretch targets. If you have easy targets, you don't create shared vision. But when you have stretch targets, you get the best out of everyone and everybody aligns. So I think these are my initial thoughts on your questions.